Now, Standard 10, in the previous class, Antonio had already mentioned that there is no need to request Shylock for any kind of request because he is a stone hearted person and he has mentally prepared for the verse. Okay. Then Bassanio says, for 3,000 ducats, here is 6. Means now Bassanio is offering him double the amount. But according to Shylock, we know Shylock is not interested in the money. He is interested in the pound of flesh. So he says, if every ducat in 6,000 ducats were in 6 parts, and every part a ducat, I would not draw them. I would have my bond. He says, now even if you divide your every ducat into 6 parts, that is 36,000 ducats, even then I will not accept it. I want the pound of flesh which is written in the bond. The Duke, how shall thou hope for mercy, rendering none? He says, how do you expect someone else to pardon you if you do not have the will of pardoning someone else? Now remember, Venice is a Christian state, and the main principle of Christianity is forgiveness. That is why the Duke is insisting that Shylock should forgive Antonio. But according to Shylock, what he says, what judgment shall I dread? So why should I be afraid of the judgment? Doing no wrong. He says, I have not done anything wrong. Now remember, that agreement was made between Shylock and Antonio. It was agreed by Antonio. Antonio was overconfident when he was signing the bond. Even when Bassanio raised an objection that you shouldn't sign the bond and risk your life for my sake. But Antonio was very confident. He says, I will be able to pay the amount 1 month before the specific time. Then Shylock goes on to express his feelings and why he shouldn't be proved wrong. He says, you have among you many a purchased slave. Now, in those days, people, the rich people, they used to buy slaves. Okay. Which, like your asses and your dogs and mules, you use in abject and in slavish parts because you bought them. Now remember, these masters who had bought slaves, now they would treat the slaves very cruelly, like you would treat an animal. Remember, slaves used to be chained hands and legs so that they cannot escape, and they were forced to do work with a whip, and they were deprived of water, sufficient water to drink, sufficient food to eat. And because of that hunger and thirst, these poor slaves used to struggle and sometimes even die due to such cruel treatment that is given to them. Okay. But when you are questioned, why are you treating your slaves so rudely or cruelly, then what would your answer be? Your answer would be that these are my slaves. I bought them. I can do whatever I want with them. Shall I say to you? He said, now I am requesting you. Would you follow or agree or listen to what I have to now tell you? Let them be free. Set the slaves free. Marry them to your heirs. He says, now set the slave free and let the slave, any of the slaves, marry one of your sons or daughters. Why sweat they under burden? Okay. He says, why must they sweat or work very hard under your burden? Let their beds be made as soft as yours. He says, give them a comfortable bed. Remember those days the slaves they made to sleep on plain ground, maybe on sand or rocks or just a rough surface, just for them to have a nap or sleep. No comfortable bed was ever given to them. So now he's telling the Duke, why don't you give your slaves a nice, comfortable bed, a soft bed, and let their palates be seasoned with such viands? Okay. Says none. The other request which I'm telling you is that why don't you give your slaves food, delicious food, which you eat? Okay, now this is the kind of request he says. Now these are the requests I'm making for the slaves. You will answer, the slave are ours. So what answer will you give me? Because you're not going to listen to what suggestion I give you. Straight away you will say the slaves are ours. We can do whatever we want with our slaves, and you have got no rights to question us. Says, so do I answer you. So now this is what I have to tell you. The pound of flesh which I demand of him is dearly bought. So I paid 3,000 ducats on the terms and conditions of the pound of flesh. It's mine and I will have it. If you deny me, fie upon your law. Fie means shame upon your law. There is no force in the decrees of Venice. I stand for judgment. Answer, shall I have it? Okay. Now, he says, now if you deny me justice, we are all aware of the fact that Shylock is not in the wrong. Now, because Antonio is a well reputed merchant of Venice, people love him for his kindness, and even the Duke acknowledges him as one of the best merchants in Venice. Okay. So Shylock knows about it. So he knows that the Duke is hesitating to pass his judgment. But here Shylock threatens the Duke. If you deny me judgment, then shame upon your law. In other words, he's going to spread the message across Venice that outsiders, foreigners who have established their business in Venice, that means they're not going to get their justice. So that is why now he is demanding. And he says, I stand for judgment. He says, I'm standing here, I want you to give me justice. Shall I have it? Now remember one thing. The Duke was reluctant to pass his judgment because he knows Shylock is right. But on the other hand, he does not want to hurt the sentiments of the people of Venice if he passes the judgment, and then if Antonio's pound of flesh is being cut, he is given a lot of pain, he may die also. So he will not be able to answer the people of Venice. So he is playing very safe. He does not want that the people should go against his judgment. That is why he says, upon my power, I may dismiss this court. He says, according to my power, I can solve the problem. But I told you he does not want to hurt the sentiments of the people of Venice. Unless Bellario, a learned doctor, whom I have sent for, to determine this come here today. He says, now I have referred this case to another learned doctor of law, Dr. Bellario. You have heard this name earlier when Portia sends Balthazar to Padua to hand over a letter to Dr. Bellario. So now he says he will be handling the case and he is expected today. So we shall anticipate till Dr. Bellario comes. I shall end it till here. Thank you.